Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Abraham and this is my final public history project, the Mapping Memory, a digital walking tour of Kensington Market. This project explores how immigrant histories, cultural memory, and community identity are reflected in one of Toronto's most iconic neighborhoods. I chose Kensington Market because it has always been a place shaped in migration. Over the last century, Jewish, Portuguese, Caribbean, East Asian, and Latin American communities have lived, worked, and created culture here. At the same time, it's a neighborhood facing ongoing pressures of gentrification, rising rents, and cultural commodification. Kensington is a perfect example of how memory, identity, and urban change collide in a very small but very meaningful space. The purpose of my project was to create an accessible digital walking tour that anyone can experience online. My goals were to highlight immigration histories, preserve cultural memory, and make urban heritage more accessible to Torontonians, students, and online learners. Using interactive map tools allowed me to blend visual, narrative, and place-based storytelling in a way that feels immersive and user-friendly. My research is grounded in several key academic sources. McLean and Rader, for an example, helped me understand how celebrations of diversity can unintentionally contribute to gentrification. Uranus's work on immigrant geographies of belonging guided how I approached placemaking. Wu and Lei's analysis of 360-degree digital tourism, which influenced my use of visual elements. Holcomb James discussed digital inclusions and accessibility, which shaped my design choices. And Ding and Shi examined how digital media constructs cultural memory, which helped me think about narratives, imagery, and together. All of these sources shaped both the content and the digital format of my project. Historically, Kensington Market began as a Jewish immigrant neighborhood in the early 20th century, with small synagogues, shops, and densely packed housing. After the Second World War, Portuguese and Caribbean communities revitalized the area. Later, Chinese and Latin American migration added a new cultural layer. Today, the market is known as a multicultural symbol, but is also a site of displacement, redevelopment, and contested heritage. To build this project, I used Google Maps to create interactive stops, each with historical descriptions, photos, and thematic notes. I integrated archival images, modern murals, and narrative text. I also organized the stops into walking route to show how stories connected to physical space. The design emphasized accessibility, clear visual and emotional engagement, and all inspired by my research. So I provide some of the highlights here. Before I show you the full tour, here are some of those highlights I've just mentioned. I include stops that represent major historical layers: Jewish synagogues, Caribbean food shops, and Portuguese stores, Latin American street murals, and areas of activism resisting gentrification. These sites together show how Kensington Market is shaped by community memory, creativity, and ongoing struggle. My approach was grounded in accessibility, community-centered storytelling, and ethical awareness. I wanted the tour to be easy to navigate and visually engaging, but also critical of issues like gentrification and cultural erosion. Public history isn't just about preserving the past. It's also about questioning who gets to tell the story, who is represented, and who is left out. Now that I've explained the purpose and structure of the project, I'll walk through the digital tour itself. And also here, I can also mention that I've learned how digital tools preserve the community memory, the complexity of representing diverse voices, challenges of avoiding simplified history online, and the importance of user engagement plus emotional design. So now, just if we go back to the first page, we can take the link here, which is also accessible for everyone watching this video, and put it into our search engine, which will lead us to the Kensington Market map tour. So stop 1 is Bellevue Square. We began at Bellevue Square, the heart of community and life in Kensington Market. For over a century, it has been a gathering place for Jewish, Portuguese, Caribbean, and Latin American families. The stop shows how public space becomes a site of belonging. So we have a couple pictures of it as well here, and a nice description, as do all the stops. Our second stop is the Jewish synagogues of Nassau Street. Early Jewish immigration converted homes on Nassau Street into small synagogues. These informal prayer spaces were central to working-class Jewish life and represent how communities create cultural infrastructure out of whatever spaces they have. Our third stop is the Augusta Avenue murals. Augusta Avenue is filled with colorful murals representing Latin American and Caribbean identity. These murals celebrate pride and resistance, but they also raise questions about cultural tourism and commodification. Stop 4 is the Caribbean Grocers on Baldwin Street. Caribbean grocery stores were essential cultural hubs from the 1960s onwards. They offered ingredients, stories, and community connection, showing how foodway preserved identity across generations. Stop 5 is the Portuguese shops on Kensington Avenue. Portuguese bakeries and fish shops helped revitalize the market after World War II. Their disappearance today reflects how rising rents and development pressure threatens long-standing immigrant businesses, hence why we aren't really able to have a modern image. Stop 6 is Chinatown border on Spadina Avenue. The eastern edge of Kensington overlaps with Chinatown, illustrating how immigrant communities negotiate space, visibility, and adaptation within Toronto's urban landscape. Stop 7 is the famous Global Cheese. Global Cheese represents the market's culinary legacy. It's a sensory archive, handwritten labels, barrels, and shelves packed with global foods reflect decades of immigrant entrepreneurship. Stop 8 is the Pedestrian Sunday Zone. The Pedestrian Sundays celebrate creativity and community, but they also raise debates about gentrification. The stop asks us to consider who benefits from these events and who is displaced. And finally, to end, our last stop is the Augusta Activism Hub. The final stop highlights Kensington's long tradition of grassroots activism, resisting chain stores and redevelopment. This is where we see how public history meets the public action. So just to reflect on this, working on the project taught me how digital tools can make local history accessible and engaging, but also how important it is to approach public history critically. Kensington Market is not just a heritage site. It's an ongoing story about migration, memory, and community and struggle. Creating this tour helped me understand how public historians can use digital platforms to democratize access while still acknowledging issues of power, representation, and exclusion. Thank you for watching, and I hope the digital walking tour helps you see Kensington Market as a living archive of the community that built it.